Hi, I'm here with Ryan Friedrich, and I'm John Walz, and we're just as the year winds down, we want to get check on our Iowa professional development plan and see where we're at. And Ryan, I just wanted to check with you and see how your plan is and how it's progressing. Look uh, want to look at your plan in regards to next year and see if you need to make any adjustments or changes. Today we'll be using the collaboration model to make sure that your plan fits the professional needs better. Our conversation will be centered on our reflections that we had during the post-conference. And so I want to start with reviewing our current personal goals and see how it fits for you next year. We talked about the post-conference about improving Standard 5, which was using a variety of methods to monitor student learning, particularly Criteria D, which guides students in goal setting and assessing their own learning, and Criteria F works with other staff in building and district leadership and analysis of student progress. I guess I would like you to give me some I would like to statements regarding that.
Yeah, I remember that our last meeting, one of the things we talked about was that the collaboration piece and working with other building staff. So I guess one of the things I would like to do is I'd like to work with the English department for that Decades project, and potentially co-teach some of those lessons with them. Also, I would like to work on my formative assessment piece to help the students out, which I feel like isn't my strong suit necessarily.
Very good. So I hear you saying that you'd like to work with the English department and potentially co-teach the lesson. You'd like some help with the formative assessment and possibly some help on your rubric.
Yeah.
So what would be any concerns with the goals that we talked about?
Again, I'd probably always go back to the time factor. That's the one thing, especially when we talk about co-teaching. Like it's awesome in principle, but it takes some planning time. It's not something that just happens. I feel like you need the time to plan with the other teachers to make sure that obviously the lessons are good, but you also need that time with the teachers just so you can kind of be on the same page, because co-teaching is more than just both of you being in there. You have to feed off each other when you teach. So just that time with them, because I haven't had a ton of it. And then I guess time too with you, or time for you to sit down and look at my rubrics to evaluate them and see what suggestions you have on them.
Okay. That sort of leads into what are some of the things that you are looking forward to?
Well, just the collaboration itself. I think I've done some research on co-teaching. But like I said, I haven't had the time to ever really practice it. And so I'm looking forward to giving students those learning opportunities with a co-taught course. Or subject, I should say, not course, but unit.
So looking at these goals, how do they relate to the students' needs, and how do they relate to the building district goals?
Well, the building district goal, one of the big ones is we want our students to be 21st century learners. And to do that, you need to be able to not just go subject by subject. You need to be able to make connections between content areas. And I think by co-teaching, they would do that, and they'd have a better opportunity to do that. I feel like right now in our classrooms, with them all being separate, we ask them to find the ways that the subjects match and then do it themselves. But freshmen, sophomores probably aren't capable of that. And so I think it will really meet the needs to help us make those 21st century connections like the district goal states.
That would be, I think very good, and help draw, two disciplines together like that would be very beneficial to the students.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned formative assessments. What are some of the tools you plan on using to support your goal in the formative assessment?
First of all, I'd like to keep using the rubrics, but then based on your suggestions, I'd like to change those just a little bit to better reflect what I want the students to learn, and not so much reflect the process of what they're doing, because I guess the end result is actually what they learned. And I guess another tool that I could use and have used in the past, but I could use more in this certain unit, is kind of just feedback on the unit and on the rubric. I could ask students what they liked, what they didn't like, maybe in a survey or a Google form, and use that data to use that data and use your suggestions to kind of create a better rubric.
Okay. How do you think that the data that you talked about from the process will help support your professional goals?
Well, I think the nice thing from that data I could find is that I could really see what the English could do to help fit me, because when you co-teach, you think it needs to be, you need to find the fit and not just like force it to fit. And so I could look at the data from you and from the students' feedback and figure out, okay, what holes do I have? And then how could English help make it more complete? So I think the data from that formative assessment fixing, I could like really find the missing pieces and really make it a great experience.
Have you had a chance to visit with any of the English teachers, and were they very open or receptive to that?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it to them, and they were really excited about it. They're always looking for teachers to collaborate with. And so they also, they had the same concern, like, this is great, this is awesome, when are we going to have the time to do it? Because we want to do it right. And so when I told them that it would be a possibility to have that time, then they were fully on board, and it was exciting.
It is exciting, which leads into, let's talk about a timeline here for as far as activities. What are like your next steps for implementing your goals and things like that?
I would really like ideally, I'd like to implement it for next year. What I would think would probably make more sense is to really do some research on it, and then next year work with the English team, and then implement some of the ideas into the unit next year with the goal of potentially going full co-teaching the following year. So it'll be like 2017-18 school year.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. Especially you want to do it right, so you want to have everything planned and put together.
Especially with like communicating with parents. I think they're the ones that are usually the most flustered when a change like that happens. And so just to communicate with them and figure out how we're going to do that, the best way to go about that, I think would be probably ideal.
Tell me what the co-teaching piece is going to look like in the classroom, and how you're going to make that happen.
Well, with the co-teaching, I think the time, like I said, the time will be nice to let us get on the same page, because I don't want the co-teaching to look like I talk for half the class and then the English talks for half the class, and so essentially two separate classes still just in the same room. I'd like it where we're both up there together, talking about the subjects, and then when questions start to come up, we field them based on discipline. So if it's a question more geared towards English, the English teacher could answer that, and then I could give the historical context of that question. And then we could really work together and not as separate entities in the same room.
I like that.
And so that's why I think the planning would be a while.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good thought process and good planning there. So then what are some of the professional development opportunities that we can work on together? How can I help?
I think you could really help by sitting in. Like you giving us the time, obviously, but then when we meet, you could sit in and give us your suggestions. Another thing that would be nice is if you could find us a day to have a sub where we can maybe go watch a school that's already co-teaching, because that's usually the best learning experience is actually watching it in action. And so I know there's some teachers around the area that do it, and it's always good to ask them questions and things, but until you see them actually do it, then you don't really get what they're doing. So I think that would probably help a lot.
Okay. So this sort of reflecting a little bit on my role, you would like to be given some time on professional days to meet with English department or teachers. Second semester schedule, I'm trying to allow some time, planning time with the English teacher. And I also want to try and provide some assistance with the rubrics and help you planning on the formative assessment, as well as a chance to meet with some other mentors and stuff. So is that sort of what you're wanting out of me on my role?
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like that would be plenty sufficient to help us meet the goals that we have for this unit.
How about you? What are some of your goals then?
I guess I could say my goals are kind of broad, but they fit those. Like one is, obviously my goal is to increase student achievement, which I think would be done through the co-teaching, and then another one of my goals would be to make myself a better teacher, and through that am I actually assessing my students and giving them proper feedback? Well, the rubrics I have now, I don't feel like are doing that. I I am assessing them, but it doesn't allow me to give them the feedback. So I think with the work on those assessments and those rubrics, then I will be able to give them feedback that they can actually learn from, and then maybe reevaluate, and then they can reassess and do better, thus making them better learners and 21st century students.
I want to thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
I've really enjoyed my first year here. I've enjoyed my time being in your classroom. You've really had a good year, and students really enjoy coming to your class and engaged. And just want you to know that if you have any questions at any time, my office is always open.
No, thank you so much for all you've done. This has been a big help for me.
Thank you.
Yep.